Well, welcome, ladies and gents. So we're going to talk House of Dragon, season 1, episode 2 review. Full spoilers. We'll just sort of dive right into it and discuss it and chit chat away. Won't be any footage. HBO Max doesn't tend to really like doing footage for copyright claims. I'm sure some people can. I just don't want to risk it, so I'm not going to. It's not worth it to me. So I have actually been enjoying this show. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I have been enjoying it. There was some nonsense remarks made about the first episode being an allegory for Roe v. Wade, and obviously all the plebs ate that up and absolutely loved it. It couldn't possibly have been an allegory for that because it was written and shot before that happened. But again, plebs will be plebs. This episode 2, was... There's a lot being laid. Now, I think episode 1, a lot of people commented on how it lacked a lot of the political elements, the sort of, it's political elements in universe for the fight for the throne. And my review, I was like, this is obviously just going to be another Game of Thrones. People are vying for the throne. And we're seeing that lay out a lot more now in episode 2. And I'm really, really liking it. Like, there's a lot to like here. There's a lot of weird stuff that pops up here and there, and we have to comment on the wigs. The wigs on this show are terrible. I need to double check and go back and watch Game of Thrones to see whether the wigs were as bad. I don't think they were, but the wigs are pretty bad in House of Dragon. Some people, they look great on. Some people not so much, right? Like, some of them are awful. But we're starting to see that politics stuff come through, and this is where you start vying for power with different characters that you like and dislike, and you're like, oh, who's going to do what this week? And I like it a lot. And I'm liking how in each episode we're learning more and more about the histories of Valyria. And, the House of Targaryen and things like that, and how it all steeps back. So what have we got in this episode? Well, the small council is really pushing for the king to remarry. And they're trying to marry him off to a 12-year-old. And I was just like looking at this, like going, Jesus. Like, this is, woof. In a world where we're talking about groomers non-stop, I was like, oof, this is real bad. Like, it looks terrible. And it is literally a child. I know some grotesque people. I think that's fine. Nah, majority of the world hate it. It was disgusting. Really gross, sort of, to... Just, nah. The whole picture of them walking around the garden and this little girl basically saying, I will give you lots of heirs. It was like, ugh, nasty. So the small council's pressuring the king because obviously they don't want the princess to take up the Iron Throne, even though she's been announced as heir. And the king, is succumbing to his small council. And that was kind of one of the things I never really understood why in the Game of Thrones world they take such stock in the small councils or the hand, the hand of the king, etc. Some of these people spout utter nonsense, and you're like, you're talking crap. Now, either the king's just super incompetent, or it's like, what? No, stop it. Bizarre stuff. So, pressuring him to take a wife, and obviously, Valyrians. Targaryens, they inbreed, not resulting in grotesqueness, obviously resulting in the one we saw, Mother of Dragons, an incredibly attractive woman, apparently that's what inbreeding gets you in a fantasy world. But they're trying to encourage him to marry, and that obviously means inbreeding, so it comes to Corlys and his daughter. Basically, that's the proposition. The king does reject that after some discussion from the princess, and then announces towards the end of the episode that he wants to go marry the Hand's daughter, who has been set up. It's all but been stated that she's having, a lesbian relationship with the princess. So when he announces this, the daughter's like, whoa, no, not cool, man, and storms out. But the daughter, the princess, does some really cool stuff in this episode. Really, really compelling character. Because she gets a steep talking to from Corlys's wife, the queen that never was, right? Probably the strongest heir to the throne, but never got the throne, or was anyway at one point. And she's like, I know the way of things. I know my place in all of this. And the princess is like, yes, so do I. And she's like, no, you don't. Like, you are not going to be queen. You are not going to sit on the Iron Throne. Men would gladly watch the world burn before that, or whatever was the words. And so the princess then takes it upon herself when Daemon Targaryen, Matt Smith's character, best character in all of this so far, steals a dragon's egg. And it was Balon's, so the prince that just died, it was his egg. So when the baby is in the cradle or whatever, they sleep next to a dragon's egg, and it's all this sort of traditional myth nonsense that the Valerians do, or Targaryens, whatever. And so the king says, right, well, I'm going to go there. I'm going to speak to him. I'm going to go to Dragonstone. I'm going to speak to him. And the Hound is like, no, send me. I'll go, my lord. He goes with a bunch of people, and basically it's about to be all-out war. A dragon pops up. Daemon's like, motherfucker, I've got you. You're going to die, son. And then the princess flies in on her dragon. It's like, yeah, I'll sort this. She just walks up to him and goes, look, I'm the thing that's in your way. Kill me. Do it. Just kill me. And he then walks off, chucks her the dragon's egg, and that's basically it. The whole situation diffused. But I really liked that. I genuinely liked that because it's, it's testing the sort of familial structure and sort of bonds that they obviously have, because it was shown in the first episode that Daemon really likes his niece. He does actually like her. He brings her gifts and things like that. And yeah, there's a bit of a power play here and there, but he genuinely likes her. And so it was testing that. And I think this sets up really interesting things moving forwards, because they will be vying for power between one another. And so that, to me, is going to be a really compelling storyline and thread to explore. So I really, really liked that. Then it closes with Daemon and Corlys talking about the shipping lanes, because the crab feeder, some rando dude with a half mask on his face, he looks inbred too, has been chucking sailors, hammering them into driftwood and allowing the crabs to feed on them. Awful way to die. Grotesque. And so Corlys is like, well, look, the king won't help me. King's spurned me and my 12-year-old daughter. So we need to take power. Daemon, you need to help me. You go and sort the crab feeder out. Then that'll at least show everyone else that you mean business and you could be the king. And there was a very interesting discussion between the two of them. Corlys says nothing. He's from old Valyria, which I don't think that stands up, because aren't all Valyrians just inbred? Which, if that's the case, then they would all be the same colour. I know, I've got to hang a lantern on that comment, but you just have to say it. But there was some interesting comments being made between the two of them, and Daemon being like, look, I can speak freely about my brother, you can't, shut up. But it closes with Daemon essentially being set up to go and kill the dragon feeder, which again sets up this power play structure for the Game of Thrones, which will be very, very interesting. And it'll be interesting to see what happens, and whether they out and out state that the princess had, some sort of lesbian relationship with the Hand's daughter. Because if they out and out state that, then there'll be quite a big fallout from that, and it'll be interesting to see how they choose to tackle it. But it's an enjoyable show so far. The ratings are actually higher for the second episode, more viewers, a significant amount of viewers in fact, for the second episode than episode 1, which shows the trajectory of the show is on the up, which is unusual. Most times the premiere episode is actually the highest viewed, and then it just peters off from there. So this is good. Like this, is a well-liked show. A lot of people tend to like it. I think a lot of people were a bit like, oh, maybe it's going to be good, maybe it's going to be bad. Oh, you burned me on Game of Thrones. Oh, fool me once, fool me twice. So yeah, it's a good show. I do like it. So let me know what you guys think down below. What was your highlight? For me, they nailed the dragon CGI. I'm all about that, genuinely. And I'm just all about the power plays and seeing what happens. So, cheers. Drop your thoughts down below. Take care.